Hey everyone, welcome to a little bit of woo woo. The tribe has spoken. So you guys all seem to like the videos that we did with Mara before. So I conned her into coming back. And this week we are going to talk about solar flares. This is something people ask me about all the time. I know nothing. So I'm going to have Mara on to explain what solar flares are and how it affects people, particularly empaths and intuitives, and how it affects the world. Because, it happens, it's one of those things that happens to everyone. Mara Clear Spring Cook, she is the bomb shaman. That is not the best explanation for her. She can give you more, but basically, let's just jump right in. Mara, tell us what solar flares are.
Well, thank you very much, Jill. And I just want to say, wow, we are in the middle of a solar maximum. So what that means is the sun has these periods of lots of activity, and then it gentles down, and it's supposed to be around every 11 years. And we're actually in this early. So that just goes to show how this solar flare phenomenon is so appropriate and topical right now because we're being affected by it, especially, as you mentioned, empaths, intuitives, sensitive souls. And I will even say further that when the solar flares are impacting or even not impacting us directly, we are feeling it even more right now because of different factors. So what happens is the sun is this complex ball of intense energy. It's a fusion reactor or multiple fusion reactors all on the inside. And I'm not a physicist, so I can't come from the perspective of a true scientist here. I'm an observer and an experiencer, right? And anyway, the all the different layers of the sun, all the heat, all the magnetics, all the plasma, which is another form of matter that we don't think about on Earth. We've got air, liquid, water, but we don't think about plasma, which is a charged aspect of energy. It's all moving around in there, and there are these amazing interactions between the layers. So when we have a solar flare, an eruption of material from the sun is basically like zooming out in a huge magnetic loop, a prominence that can contain more space, energy, and matter than several, like I don't even know how many Earths combined. It is incomprehensible how big these arms are that reach out and stretch, release all this energy, which then it doesn't just sit there around the sun, it shoots out in all directions. And that means that it's going to cross the path of the orbit of the Earth around the sun and sometimes impact us directly. It's loaded with massively charged particles. And when this is coming through towards us, there's what I feel a complex interaction between the sun, the Earth, and the people and all the beings here on the planet. That is a level of communication some people call light codes or soul codes that are coming through. And that's where we get into the woo-woo part
Oh,
of
I love
solar
woo woo. Yeah,
flares.
I've heard people refer to it as light codes before. So tell me how long, basically, there's a couple of questions I have for you. One, I definitely want to know how long people should feel affected, and what are people feeling? What's happening?
I think it's easier to describe what people are feeling than try to quantify how long they're going to feel it. So there can be, and let me just say this, not everybody is going to feel it, and not every sensitive is going to feel every flare. Okay, so think of this energy coming through as being on different bandwidths, different, like if you remember radio before we had
Way back
Wi-Fi and
when,
cell and
right?
everything. We had radios, and we still use those frequencies, by the way, to transmit things like Wi-Fi. But that we would tune a tuner to different wavelengths and be like, here's a station rattling off all sorts of talk this, talk that. Here's another one with rock and roll. Here's another one with classical music. The same thing I believe is happening, not those particular transmissions, but those different levels of I'm reaching this audience, I'm reaching that audience. So when these flares come through, some people are going to feel very agitated, irritated, it's sort of like PMS of your auric field, it's just brrr, and grumpy. Other people can't sleep, cannot sleep. Schumann resonance.
Interesting.
We won't go there today because we don't have time for Schumann resonance. We'll do that another day. But it's going off, and people can be very sensitive to that ultra low frequency reverberation that happens in the earth when we're struck by these energetic masses that come toward us. So they may instead be very sleepless and agitated, unable to stay awake, or unable to go to sleep, or conversely have a 12-hour sleep fest at night because they're just taken down. They're going into a more receptive brainwave state. So they're truly receiving the energies, and somewhere it is being translated in their own being, in their own field. So either you're going to get really tired, feel fluish, dragged out, have a headache, have your fibromyalgia really activated, or you're going to get super jazzed, razzed, like feel the electricity kind of crawling all over your skin. So it could be one or the other.
I love that. I love that explanation because yeah, I'm getting a lot of clients asking about they're not sleeping well. And then, people are going into rages. You see more road rage during these types of incidents. Tell me about that.
Full moon to the exponential level. So let's look at the Earth. The Earth has a layer called the ionosphere, and that helps mitigate the effects of the physicality of a solar flare coming toward us, or even the solar wind, which is different from a solar flare. But both the magnetosphere or the ionosphere are both helping regulate what comes through to the Earth. Basically, it's why we're alive. Otherwise, we'd be burned out by the radiation, right? So everybody has an energy field around them. And just think of it, we have our own version of a magnetosphere. We have our own version of an ionosphere that deals with the magnetic and the electric energies that are coming at us at a psychic level.
Interesting.
So yeah, so when we are having one or both layers activated, then that's what's happening to us. What do I do with this? I'm getting this sandpaper feeling, or I'm getting this immense water pressure feeling. What is it? What is it that's
Let me
happening
ask
to me?
you something I've been seeing. I do psychic readings, you know this, but
Yeah.
maybe you guys don't. So getting a lot of people asking about seeing people without bodies in their homes, and is my house haunted? I'm like, I don't think so. But I'm wondering if it's kind of thinning the layer a little bit between worlds and allowing people to see things that they didn't see before. Tell me if that's the case or if that's something else.
Maybe it's both.
Okay.
So yeah, so there's when you speak of the thinning of the layer, there are these actual fields that reach out from the sun and the earth, and when they touch and when there's certain energies being exchanged, science has been able to measure vortexes,
Oh,
which
okay.
are unexplainable in some ways, states of matter or no matter. I call them rips and tears in the fabric of space and time. So they can find these vortexes, which I feel are optimal places for energy to be exchanged, meaning information being exchanged between our archetypal sun, father, masculine issue, and the earth, feminine, receptive archetype. So when that's happening, that's an exchange of information. What is coming through? Does that mean that there's a thinning of the veil where, yeah, you can actually see more of the beings that are still peeking in on us, even though they're not really here anymore. They're in another dimension or heaven, or however your personal spirituality rings with that, or are taking advantage of the time to take a look at us, just like we might be looking at them. And then also, is everybody's individual psychic organ, our third eye, however people might define that, which I understand can be different for folks. I call it the shamanic eye. Is that being cleared more? Are we being able to perceive better, further, a wider field, a more panoramic vision that includes the things that have always been there, but we haven't noticed, or are specific to what's happening now, either in a seasonal aspect to the earth and its rotations and the seasons and all that, and the going around the sun, and also the energies that are being activated by the wonderful interplay of the planets and the sun and where we are in our actual journey around the galaxy center. So there's a lot of things mixed in there. Yes, I think that psychic abilities are activated and opened during intense solar periods.
Interesting. I love that you bring that up because, people are always asking me about how, what can I do to protect myself? And I'm like, I don't know if you have to protect yourself or as much as you just need to learn to sort of accept what, the ebbs and flows. Tell us about that though. What can people do? Because this is a pretty intense energy and I would say a lot of people are feeling it.
Freaking intense. And really, when we are in the middle of I hate these words suffering, but you know what? You can feel like you're suffering. Suffering the effects. Number one, realize you are triggered. Something has taken you off your center. So the most important thing is to take care of yourself. I say that over and over again in all the different things that I do. Take what would take care of you. For some people, getting in a salt bath, crying in the shower, getting their feet and hands on the earth, getting a hug, spending time with their pet. These are all really practical things that actually work. And people want something to be complicated and I need to have a special formula and send me the medicine. And really, if you can get in the habit of saying, wow, I must be triggered right now. Let's do 3 deep breaths. I mean, even just one breath, you get you really start to get centered, right? So number one, take care of yourself. Recognize that you're triggered, take care of yourself. Number two, you've been practicing, right? Like when you're not triggered, you've been practicing doing things so you can then step into something more personal for you and your spirituality. I always consider these things to be a spiritual issue. So for me, I would make sure I smudged myself and lit a candle, and I would ask my guides or my power animals. Oh, I'm a shamanic practitioner, if we didn't mention that
Yeah,
already.
sorry, I left that out.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I do healing and I teach people how to do these things. So I would merge with a power animal, or I would ask a guide to come in and help hold space for me so I can find out what is my calibration here. Let's say I got guided to go outside and I'm going to go hang with a tree. And I'm just going to stand there and put my hand on the tree, borrow some of the stability and strength and the different sense of being present in the timeline that the tree has. And then I'm going to ask myself, is there information for me here? How can I receive it? Do you meditate? Just do a meditation. Do you journal? Grab your journal. Do you sing and let it translate through your throat chakra? Sing, hum, chant. Do you dance? Let me tell you, dance is so therapeutic. So dancing. So that these are like things you can physically do. Grab your shungite, grab your smoky quartz. All right. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go there. Crystals.
Is this shungite? Is that the one?
I think that's aragonite.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
It's a good one too. Aragonite is
Okay.
awesome. I'm a real believer in the smoky quartz
That was
phenomenon.
shungite?
Yeah, there you
That's it.
go.
I have a
Yeah.
million crystals on my desk right now. One of these days I'm going to show you guys. I'm a crystal hoarder, but I don't always know what they all are.
A crystal episode is not a bad plan, love.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I wear them all the time. You know, this I feel is very, very helpful for me. And definitely it's just fighting resistance makes it worse. Flowing, accepting allows it to move through and pass.
Love it, love it, love it.
Especially helpful is to have a friend you could connect with and say, hey, are you feeling this thing? I have some friends that do that. Some of them even have, by the way, people can go to spaceweather.com and they can add a text alert system to their phone so they know when these solar flares are
Yeah,
coming
that was
up.
my next question. How do people know? I don't know about them. You're the one that tells me about them.
I know. Well, you know what happens for me, Jill, and everybody who does this kind of work, I want you to kind of think about this. Start keeping a journal, and then you can compare your journal to what's really been happening. I'll get the sensation maybe an hour or two ahead of time. I was sitting with Michelle, one of my grads, and we were working on a project together. And all of a sudden, we both felt the shift. Like we felt a little dizzy, like the world, like
Yeah.
we were on a ship and it had gone like this. And we looked at each other. Did you feel that? Yeah, I felt that. I totally felt that because and then we checked, and sure enough, an alert came through, and there was a solar flare. I think it was an X flare. So and we've had a lot of those in a short period of time.
Now,
So yeah.
I was just gonna say, how would this affect? I don't know if you can answer this question or not, but we're just gonna ask anyway. How would this affect world events? Because I mean, it affects you and I, and we're intuitive, but all of our leaders, the ones with fingers on buttons of that are very scary, are being affected by these things too. How is that going to affect the world in general?
They're all just people, right? These leaders who can put their finger on the button or send the money flow one direction to the other. I think about that movie, The Fifth Element, and how the
Great
evil
movie.
guy, Zorg, whatever,
Yeah.
he decide, oh, we need to change the economy over here, so we're going to lay off 1 million people. Just flick his hand there and go and do it. So we know that there's folks that have that kind of power, even though we don't like to think about it. How does this affect the world? Well, yeah, those individuals, Jill, are under the same sun that we are. So to the degree that they may or may not be intuitive and sensitive, they may feel this, but they're also plugged into something that is do I go there? Yeah, I'm going to go there. That is an archetypal body. So we have our individual selves, and then we have consciousnesses that are created from our own experiences here on Earth. So we have the pain body that Eckhart Tolle speaks of. And I think that we also have corresponding emotional reservoirs of anger and fear and on all the shadows as well as all the light. So I feel that when people who are deeply connected to those more power and control issues and have influence are agitated or influenced by these solar projections, the CMEs, and the winds, I feel that they're informing and being informed by these massive bodies of, I must control this. I have to make sure I have my power seat held. I am in a religious fervor. I'm on a quest to conquer, and everybody must believe what I believe. I think those things get really activated.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff going on in the bond market right now.
Yeah.
This is being recorded on February 1st. And so I was just thinking about that as you were talking about this big solar flares. Now, bond stuff happens all the time, same with the stock market,
Yeah.
but I wondered about that. I'm like, this is affecting me. It's affecting all the intuitives. It's making people full of rage. It can also make people really loving and very kind. It's always like, it sounds like it's the two extremes can be really played out. To wrap this up, is there anything else people should know about solar flares or anything I didn't think to ask you?
There is a belief that all these things that happen with solar flares and eclipses, everything, that it affects the Earth's weather, be it the geo weather, earthquakes, volcanoes, or the atmospheric weather, hurricanes, winds, droughts, blizzards, all those sort of things. And people can really go down a rabbit hole with that, just like with all of this. So I would say that the most important thing to do is to bring it back to ourselves, take extremely good care of ourselves. Notice if you're suddenly getting attracted to something that continues to stir you up, and look at how that's alive inside of you. So if I was freaking out about floods, because I live in San Diego, it's really raining right now. There is like a news media consciousness around flooding, and oh my God, be prepared. And oh my goodness. I mean, it is a big deal. I'm not trying to downplay that. It is a big deal, but also the consciousness is way up there now for floods. Do I want to tap into that? Or do I just want to keep a lookout for myself and my neighbors, be sure I have everything in order, and then go on with my day?
I love that.
Let's not surrender to a group consciousness, mob mentality panic. And instead remember, usually everything works out. We are still here. And until we aren't here, we might as well have the best life possible while we're here.
I love that. It's very good advice. I love that. That's why I tell people not to watch the news. You get caught up in something that's just, it's not real. Those floods that happened in San Diego, we saw on TV last week. You know, we're talking about
On my birthday.
I know, I'm sorry. It was like one geographic, it was really sad, right? But it was one geographic area. And most people in San Diego just thought, oh my God, it rained. How cool is that, right? Most
It
people
was
just
amazing.
had a great experience of rain because it doesn't. For those of you who don't know, it doesn't rain in San Diego very often, which is why it was a
No, we're
problem.
expecting to get a month's worth of rain in the next 2 days right now. So if you hear crazy things on the news, just reach out to me or Jill. We'll give you the right info.
I'm not there.
No, you.
Mara, is there any, how can people find you? I'm going to put all of your socials in the description, but just to tell people how they can find you if they want to get a personal reading, if they want to get more information on your work.
Go to my website, maraclearspring.com. You can find me on Facebook, Mara Clearspring. You can find me on Instagram, Mara Clearspring, same name for LinkedIn. And I look forward to hearing from you because I love working with people. I love what I'm doing and I love sharing it both in healing and in trainings and events.
Love it. And I love that you used your name because everybody who does this kind of work really should brand themselves with their own name. I'm just saying, that's just my little tangent. So I hope this information was helpful, guys. We're going to try and do these on a more regular basis because I think the information, sort of the intuitive information, is really helpful for most people. And if we can do it in short little bits, I think that could be really helpful for everyone. So I hope you liked it. Please like and subscribe. Would really appreciate it. And get on Mara's mailing list because she has this amazing shamanic weather newsletter that's just to die for. It's just awesome. It's probably, I shouldn't say this. She's like the only one I read. It's the only one of the newsletters I actually read. I get a ton of them, guys. You have no idea. I send a bunch too, so maybe I shouldn't. I mean, I don't have any moral high ground to stand on that one. But hers is amazing. So get on her mailing list. And with that, thank you, Mara. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.